In the United States, we've been conditioned to value material items, luxury goods, and designer clothes and flaunt much of it in an obnoxious way. While this may seem normal, these outward financial displays, more often than not, are really symptoms and behaviors of the poor. People who want to look rich, people who may even act rich, but are really quite poor. Remember, wealth is stealth, and these are the top 5 reasons why it is so important to look poor. In the comments below, please share what you think. Do you think it is important to live a certain way? Or do you think people should be loud and proud about their finances? Please share in the comments below. Reason number 1, it's never enough. Andrew Carnegie was one of the men who built America and became the richest man in the world in the late 1800s and early 1900s. After he passed, a note was found in his drawer that he wrote to himself, and it said this: "I want to spend the first half of my life making as much money as possible so I can spend the second half of my life giving it all away." Having the unique perspective of being someone who was both the wealthiest person of his day and the most generous, he wrote this in his autobiography: "It is indeed more blessed to give rather than receive. Pray don't. Don't ask for anything more. Don't ask for more things. Don't ask for more money." Despite Mr. Carnegie's wealth, he found his true calling in the joy of being able to give back. He never lived a life of opulence, and his lifestyle was incredibly modest. Because he never desired more, he was able to use his energy, time, and resources in a way that was most aligned with the vision that he had for himself. In the United States, our culture teaches and promotes the exact opposite. We are surrounded by consumption. As a matter of fact, in 1930, the average person felt satisfied with 70 of their desires being met. In 2024, though, the average person needs over 500 of their desires to be met in order to feel satisfied. What can we learn from this? That it's never enough. The person who always desires more will have a thirst for things that can never be quenched. When you act poor, though, you learn to be content and grateful for what you have, placing a higher value on peace, flexibility, freedom, and choice. Reason number 2, freedom of choice. In his book, Atomic Habits, James Clear states that you should be far more concerned with your current trajectory than your current results. What he means by this is that you should be more concerned with your habits and behaviors and where they lead to than what your current results are achieving. Every time you say no to the thing that you don't need today, you're really saying yes to your future self. Every time you make a sacrifice today, your future self is thanking you. I often imagine myself as a 50, 60, 70, even a 100-year-old man. And I see that old man thanking my current self for making those sacrifices today, so that man could live the life that he wanted with the people that he wanted in complete freedom. It's important to act poor and live poor. When you say yes to everything, you not only lose freedom in the present, more importantly though, you're putting your future self in a place of bondage. When you say yes to every iPhone update and yes to the new car and yes to the clothes, trips, and personal luxuries, you are really saying no to freedom and no to financial independence and no to your future self. Learn to spend money on things that you really value. I mean, things that you really care about. And then don't spend money and say no to the things that don't bring you value. Act poor, but believe big. When we say no to the overconsumption American lifestyle, we have more freedom, more options, and more flexibility in our lives. Living like this will put the power back in your hands and allow you to take your freedom back. Show me your habits and I will show you your future. Reason number 3, living from a place of supply versus demand. Living poor not only means that you aren't over-leveraged, it also means you don't carry credit card balances, you don't buy things you don't need, but that you're also in control of your time, money, assets, and career. In other words, you're living from a place of supply and abundance, where creativity, ideas, and goals fill not only your mind, but also your life. You have a vision for your life and where you're headed. You're excited about your present, but you're even more excited about tomorrow, because you know that you're building something and how exhilarating that is. Compare that to a person who lives from a place of demand, which is tied in with American consumption. Now think about the person who seems to have everything. The toys, the cars, the boat, the RV, and the list goes on and on and on. When they say yes to all of these things, they are really just putting themselves in chains. They can never quit their job because they have to pay for all of these things. And they can never craft a future because they're so focused on the present. It is impossible to be creative and have an impact because they are always playing from behind and just trying to keep their head above water. When you live from a place of supply, you have the freedom of choice. You have options. You can take time off from work. You can have a bigger impact with your family and even your community. When you live from a place of demand, you're just too frantic and you can't think about anything else. Live poor and live from a place of supply versus living rich and living from a place of demand. Reason number 4, living from a place of purpose. See, in America, we have it all backwards. We see the person in the luxury car with the fancy clothes on and the nice jewelry, and we think to ourselves, that is what a rich person looks like. Most of the time though, this is completely wrong. This is usually the exact image of what a poor person looks like because they have no freedom of choice. And there isn't any peace in their life. They live from a place of demand. And most importantly, they aren't living out who they're called to be, and they don't live from a place of purpose. Not to mention all that is financed anyways, and they're in debt up to their eyeballs. Take Warren Buffett, for example, and ask yourself this question. Why does one of the richest men in the world still live in the same home that he bought in the 1950s for $30,000? Why does he drive a mid-level sedan? Why does he live an inexpensive lifestyle? Because living this way for the past 75 years has allowed him to put his money towards his business, grow his wealth, and given him the platform to become the greatest philanthropist of his generation. He values living on purpose more than things, lifestyle, and even status. Living poor gives you the ability to live on purpose, and you can be very wealthy, but still live poor. Reason number 5, the moral dilemma. There's enough resources on this planet right now where everyone in the world can have access to shelter, clean water, food, and have their basic needs met. But why does such a large percentage of the world live in such poverty? In the United States, simply by being born in America, we have so many more opportunities than the other billions of people throughout the world. And we owe it to ourselves and have a responsibility to past and future generations to become the most successful and the most generous that we can be. Our attitudes need to be less of entitlement and what can I get out of this, and more of how can I have a bigger impact in my community and others. When we adopt these values, we can focus on contributing instead of consuming. We can still live the life we want and still have all of our desires and needs met, but while also learning to grow and give back. You are called to do big and great things, we all are. So believe big and behave poor. Remember, what we think is rich in America is oftentimes really just poor. And wealth is usually stealth, meaning it's unassuming, not noticeable, and very quiet. Those who are loud, well, they're really just being boisterous about how poor they really are. This is Ben Adams with American Money 101. Until next time.